Welcome to our weekly webcast. Now, if this is the first time you're joining us, welcome. If you've been with us before, welcome back. The way this call works is this is an AMA, like on Reddit, meaning ask me anything. You can ask me business questions, career questions, finance questions, any questions you want. And my goal is to humbly help you take your career, your company, your portfolio, etc., to the next level. So without further ado, let's begin, and thank you. Good morning and welcome to our 254th weekly webcast. So the first question I've got here was from Rahul last night, who wrote, can you explain underwriting in detail? Absolutely. So whenever an investment bank is hired to take a company public or to float a bond, so to speak, what they have to do is they have to prepare what's called a prospectus, which is like an S1 document, it's called. So this is the prospectus for Facebook, ticker Meta. So back in 2012, when Facebook went public, the investment bank had to underwrite this, meaning they had to get the investment bankers to write this document with lawyers, including risks. And they underwrote, that's how you remember it, they underwrote this document. Then what happens is after they create this document by law, which has to hit sec.gov many months before the company like Meta goes public. Then what happens is the investment bank like Goldman Sachs or JP Morgan, what they'll do is they'll set up meetings with their investors all over the world. And the people you see on the trading floor, those are salespeople and traders and sales traders. The salespeople on the trading floor will call all their biggest clients all over the world and say, hey, do you want to buy this stock, Facebook, for example? And then what they'll do is they'll do what's called a book building process where they'll write down how many shares each hedge fund or mutual fund client wants and at what price. And usually what happens is IPOs are issued at a discount. So that on day one, they go up 30%. They have to be sold at a discount. Otherwise, nobody wants to invest in them. So that's underwriting in a nutshell. Okay, next question is, why do governments issue bonds at a discount? Also, is the interest rate fixed on the return? Yeah, so there's two types of bonds. One is called a discount bond, and the other one is called a coupon bond. So a discount bond means, for example, you buy a bond at $90 and it will mature eventually many years in the future at $100. It's sold at a discount. If it wasn't sold at a discount, there's no point to buy it. And that's called a zero coupon bond because there's no coupon. Think of a coupon like a dividend yield. Now, what other companies do and governments is they'll issue coupon bonds, meaning it's not a zero coupon bond. And those can be sold at a discount as well, but they've got the sweetener of a coupon, which is like a dividend yield. Next up, we have Renveer from Mauritius. Great to see you. You wrote, can you please tell us the different ways people can lose money with bonds? Yeah, absolutely. So number one, if a company has financial difficulties, then ratings agencies like Moody's and S&P, what they can do is they can downgrade a bond similar to how Wall Street analysts downgrade a stock. And when a bond is downgraded, it goes down in price as there's kind of a bigger risk that the company could go bankrupt or not be able to pay back the bond. And think of the bond like a loan. Now, the second way that people can lose money on a bond is if the bond pays out, let's say, 3% per year coupons and inflation is 4%. Then you're losing 1%, assuming the underlying bond price does not go up. And again, think of a coupon on a bond as being similar to a dividend on a stock. And again, if a bond does not have a coupon, it's called a zero coupon bond and it's sold at a discount. Meaning, you buy it at say $90 and it matures years later at say $100. Hence the name discount bond. Now, the marketplace decides what the price of the bond is after it's underwritten by the investment banker, similar to a stock. It all comes down to supply and demand. And we tend to think that government bonds are low risk, but they're not low risk. Because you can lose all your money if you invest in a government bond. For example, many years ago, the municipal bond for Orange County, which is located in Southern California, Orange County declared bankruptcy. And bondholders in Orange County bonds lost money, even though municipal bonds are often tax-free. Now, the third way to lose money with a bond is if you invest in illiquid bonds. So, when you buy a stock that doesn't trade that much, the difference between the spread where you buy and where you sell is wide. Okay, and this is referred to as liquidity. And an illiquid stock or an illiquid bond owns you in a down market, not vice versa. So if you invest in a bond that doesn't trade that much, then the spread between buying and selling is quite wide. And the fourth way to lose money on a bond is if you invest in a bond in another country and that country's currency exchange rate drops relative to your currency. So Renvir, you're based in Mauritius. Let's say that you invested in United States bonds, corporate bonds, or any bonds in the US. And the US dollar changed materially, right? If it went down a lot, then when you bring that money back to Mauritius and you convert it to your currency, you're going to lose money there as well. That's an exchange rate risk. And the fifth and final way to lose money on a bond is if interest rates rise way above the rate of return that you're earning from a bond. Now, coupons on a bond don't change. But let's say a bond yield is 5% and interest rates increase to 10%. Then nobody wants to own that 5% bond, as they can buy 10% bonds, for example, elsewhere. And so investors sell that 5% yielding bond, which drives the price of the bond lower. I hope that answers your questions. Thanks. All right, next up I have got Chatan. It's been a while, man. I hope you're doing well. You wrote, yesterday a friend of mine said, hey, your desk is so clean. I know you're going with this. You wrote, I replied, my mentor says a clean desk is a happy desk. That's what I say. And then you wrote, I'm very grateful for inculcating so many good habits. I'll have to look up that word later. Thank you. Here's my desk right now. I actually did clean it up before this. Yeah. And as many of you know, I've got a standing desk here and a treadmill below where I get 30,000 steps a day. Yeah. Helps me think better as well. Yeah. Okay. Next question. It's great to see you. Next question is Alex P. from Utah. Great to see you as always. Alex wrote, Chris, top of the morning on the last day of November. It goes by fast, eh? You wrote, it's been a minute since I've been on the call with you. What's new in your world? Yeah, a lot actually. So I'm launching my 8th annual 1-year MBA degree program, the Gold and Platinum version. You can get more details if you want that hyperlink down there. And that will launch January 29th. It's going to be every Monday and Tuesday from 4 p.m. until 7 p.m. If you guys want to learn more, you can go to that web address there. What I'm also doing is I've gone all in on AI. And I've created a lot of AI courses that I'm going to be releasing. And they're all going to be free for people that buy my MBA degree program. Let me actually show you. I've got this unbelievable course I just made with Luka. And this course actually, let me tee it up here. This course will help you become a better investor using AI. Yes, you can make more money using AI if you use AI the right way to do investment research. So here's a very short trailer on what to expect from this. In this course, we will teach you how to use AI products to help you with analyzing every single aspect of a company, including qualitative and quantitative research, financial model research, creating financial statements, valuing companies, and so much more. And this course is based on my knowledge of investing, as I have decades of work experience at Goldman Sachs and at the top hedge funds in the world, and also in the venture capital sector too, where I had a pre-IPO investment in Facebook in my company. Now, I'm also partnering with Luka here in this course, as he is one of the leading AI experts, and Google developers actually called him one of the top 150 machine learning and AI experts in the world.
Together we will teach you how to take your finance and investing skills to the next level by using ChatGPT and many other top AI products. In this course, we'll provide you with a massive research document with countless AI prompts that we created for you, so by the end of the course, you can run circles around the competition when it comes to doing financial accounting, qualitative quantitative research on any company using many AI products, including ChatGPT.
Now, by the end of this course, you will also learn how to create a comprehensive financial model on any company, and also how to value and find a target price for the company that you're doing research on.
Attached to the first lecture of this course is a comprehensive research report that we will create together that analyzes every aspect of any company using AI, so you can work smarter and not harder.
Also attached to the first lecture of the course is an Excel spreadsheet that will help you create and forecast financial statements and value companies in 7 steps. Now, if you don't have finance or accounting experience, no problem, because we're going to explain everything from scratch. And this course can help you become a better investor, a better corporate finance executive, a better investment banker, and it will help you with any finance or general business career topics, whether you're just starting your career or you're already a senior executive.
By the end of the course, you will have a complete comprehensive research report and financial models and valuation analysis of any company, as you will create all of this together. We'll provide you with every prompt and all of the tools that you need to analyze any company.
We will also teach you how to use the top AI products to take your finance and investing career to the next level. And again, no prior business or accounting or finance experience is required to take this comprehensive course. Thank you, and I'll see you in class. All right, our next question here is from Andre. How are you, man? Great to see you. Andre wrote, what book do you recommend for public speaking and presentations? Yeah, there's one great book called The Presentation Secrets of Steve Jobs. I would check that out. And Steve Jobs' genius he was obviously a great salesperson and visionary as well. But he loved to keep things simplistic to the extent that you don't need an instruction manual to use any Apple products. And he came up with, or he talked about what's called the rule of threes. And similar to when you look at a beautiful photograph, there's three different layers. Like the classic picture in the beach where you've got the sky, the ocean, and the sand. And he did that as well. In fact, if you go back to his presentation that he gave in January of 2007, when he announced the iPhone, you'll see there's three images on the screen, 3 bullet points, etc. So again, the presentation secrets of Steve Jobs, less is more. When you all make presentations, never have more than 3 bullet points per slide, please. All right, next question is from Andre, who wrote, what are your 3 keys when buying commercial real estate? Yeah, well, when I used to ask my dad this question, my dad would always say the 3 most important things about real estate are location, location, location. But I'll give you 3 examples. Number 1 is location, of course. Number 2, you want to look at the credit worthiness of that if you're going to be taking on debt as well. Now make sure it's a highly rated bond by Moody's and S&P. And the third thing is the categories of commercial real estate. I would never invest in commercial real estate in cities. And the reason I say that is because cities are in secular decline. You know, the best investments you can make are in farmland. And I bought a lot of land over the past couple of years, a lot of it in Texas. And when I buy that land, I give up the mineral rights, so it's cheaper for me. But what COVID has taught us all is that we can all work remotely. So what's the point of going into big cities? It doesn't make any sense. You spend more than an hour commuting, sometimes 2 hours. You waste a lot of time, you kill the environment, you hurt your social life, you're not there with your kids, you're not exercising. It doesn't make sense. So no to commercial real estate when it comes to cities. And this is evident in San Francisco. There's many other reasons why San Francisco has been having issues. But on Market Street in San Francisco, which is the big street in the city, the Westfield Shopping Center just closed down. Nordstrom refuses to have locations in certain parts of the city, etc. Yeah. And there's other structural issues with San Francisco. All right, next up we have Paul Brau from Barcelona, who wrote, top of the morning, brother. Congratulations on graduating from my Platinum MBA degree program recently. It was a pleasure meeting with you. I think it was back in 2018 in Barcelona when I brought my kids and they had that meltdown. Yeah, as we walked down La Rambla. Yeah, great to see you. Jason, good morning. Good to see you. Yolanda from Texas, who graduated from my MBA program back in 2019 or 20, wrote, hi, Chris. I really enjoyed being in the first cohort of your MBA program. Thank you. It's good to hear from you. You wrote, long story short, I'm having major imposter syndrome. I just need a little encouragement to plow through. Yeah, I'm sorry you're going through this. The most successful people in business, they just don't care what other people think of them. And the second that you can get rid of those negative thoughts in your mind in terms of what other people are thinking of you from a judgment perspective, the second you do that is the second you start living your life in your own terms. And it will unlock unbelievable euphoria or happiness in you as well. Now, there's the most successful entrepreneurs. They never care what people thought of them. And I want you to be the same way. For me, for many years, I cared what people thought of my career, the way I looked, etc. And that really, really hurt my confidence, and it wasted a lot of time as well in my mind. So I want you to do this for homework. This is homework for everybody. Shukudai, as you say in Japanese. Your homework is this. I want you to get a piece of paper and I want you to write this down. I don't care what people think of X. Do that 10 times and fill in a blank for X. I don't care what people think of the way I look. I don't care what people think of the fact that I have a massive nose. And by the way, during COVID, when I used to wear the mask, I would get more people checking me out. And then when I take the mask off, they're like, oh, brutal. Just kidding. I don't care what people think of my car. I don't care what people think of my job. I don't care that people criticize me for teaching and not being in venture capital anymore. Do that 10 times. And I promise you, once you do that, then you'll live your life in your own terms and you won't be living with imposter syndrome anymore. I love you and I'll pray for you as always. Okay. And practice gratitude as well. So for me, whenever I wake up in the morning, I thank God for 10 things in this order. Gets me into a peak mental state. Andrew, Matthew, Dylan, Christine, my wife, my mom, my dad, my brother, Jamie, my sisters, Katie and Elizabeth, and all of you, my students. I practice gratitude every day. Then I read a passage of the Bible. Gets me into a peak mental state. Okay. Next up, Jason wrote, why did so many PayPal executives move on to great, prosperous positions? Seriously, what's in the water at PayPal? Yeah, you're referring to what's called the PayPal Mafia. So here in Silicon Valley, some of the best startups in the world came from executives that worked at PayPal. And we call this a PayPal Mafia. And so the co-founders of PayPal included Max Levchin, as well as Peter Thiel. And eventually Elon Musk was the co-CEO along with Peter Thiel in that company. And then Reid Hoffman joined, who eventually started LinkedIn. You had Steve Chen, who eventually started YouTube. You had Sobelman, who started Yelp, etc. And it became self-fulfilling after a while. Like I remember back in 2005 when YouTube was founded, they were able to raise a lot of money, not just because of the good financial prospects of the company, but more importantly because of the management team. Venture capitalists here found out that, hey, the management team at YouTube used to work at PayPal, therefore they had a successful exit, therefore I'll invest in them. And again, it became self-fulfilling. And Sequoia did the A round on PayPal, on YouTube, and the company I used to work at did the B round. But they did the B round before I joined. And so I blame my parents. Dad, if you're watching, if you and Mom had me 5 years earlier, I'd have money. Yeah. But whenever we invest in companies, you always want to look at the quality of the management team first. The jockey is more important than the horse, always. And the problem with traditional business school education is they teach you to analyze financial statements and all this stuff, but they don't teach you how to look at the management team. Always start with the management team, always, yeah. And there's a great book you can read on that called The PayPal Wars as well, written by a guy that used to work at Accenture, where I used to work. Okay, next up, Manas from India. Great to see you, and congratulations on all of your incredibly successful AI courses on Udemy, many of which are the #1 bestseller in those categories. You wrote, you launched a new course with Luka. What is it about and how does that work? Yeah, so I played the trailer earlier today as well, and so that will give you more details on it. But basically what Luka and I have figured out is we've created 100 custom prompts that will work to analyze any company and all aspects of a company. And these prompts that we developed work and are optimized for Google Bard, as well as Bing Chat, and also ChatGPT. And it's a real treat partnering with Luka. I love him. He's my brother. I miss him. He spent a couple months with me recently because Luka, is one of the top AI experts in the world. He's got a PhD in AI. He's unbelievable. So he put a lot of work into creating those prompts, and I'm proud to partner with him. Yeah. But whenever you guys use artificial intelligence, please be careful because AI products will hallucinate. Right? Basically, what they'll do is they'll make up stuff. And this can really cost you a lot of money. And let me show you an example of this because it drives me crazy. But let's go over here to Bard. So Bard is Google's AI product, which doesn't work in all countries. So watch this. What was Apple's guidance for the past 8 quarters? Okay. And so companies, what they do is they often offer guidance, meaning a revenue range or an EPS range for investors to look at in terms of modeling the company's financials. Now, Apple stopped providing guidance back in 2020. Yet, Google Bard here says, here's the guidance range. This is not true. This is made up stuff. Apple does not provide guidance. Again, they stopped providing guidance back in 2020. So always double check the data. Always, always, always. Yeah. And if you guys have questions about Bard or any other AI products, let me know. I'm happy to give you my humble thoughts on how to use them. Yeah. They're confidently wrong. Okay. All right. Next up, Renveer wrote, "Hey, Chris, thanks a lot for the AI courses. Thanks to you. I'm launching my AI agency next week. God bless you more. And if I can humbly help you, let me know." And I know that every week during our Silver MBA degree office hours, we do the Zoom call. Ask me any questions you want. I want to humbly help you if I can. Thank you. Okay. And when one teaches, two learn. Ain't that the truth, huh? All right. Next up, I have got Jason who wrote, "Can you talk about your studio setup? Maybe it's in the MBA course. I haven't gotten to that yet." Yeah, I talk a lot about videography in the MBA course and the sales, marketing, communications portion of it as well. So in terms of my studio, I've got 2 cameras. And the reason I have 2 cameras is when I'm recording a course, if I make a mistake, I can just re-record that line. If I make a mistake, I can just re-record that line. So having 2 cameras is key. Aside from that, in my studio, I have multiple monitors as well. I have high-speed internet, 2 high-speed internet companies just in case one goes down because my business is based on high-speed internet. Aside from that, I've got professional lighting as well all set up. Everything is actually on bars on the ceiling, right? So, and each rivet up in the ceiling can hold 300 pounds. So everything is either on the ceiling or on wheels, mainly on the ceiling. Lighting is key. Now, whenever you're setting up your studio, you really have to look closely at exposure. And I'm going to show you exactly what this means and how to do this. So let me just turn on screen. Now, the human eye can never tell what exposure is. Never rely on your eye because it's always wrong. And the way you do it is you hold up a piece of paper, white paper, and then you see right here, this Ghostbuster thing, right in the middle where my face is. You want to make sure that that is exactly at 80 and not above. Otherwise, you're too bright, or below, you're too dark. So exposure is key. And you don't have to have a professional camera to have this waveform thing right here. You can buy external devices on Amazon that can help you set that up. Aside from that, other best practices is I always have 2 microphones just in case one goes down. And so the microphone I use is the same one that Joe Rogan uses. It's a Shure SMB up here, and I've got a Blue Yeti as backup here as well. And I wear my Lululemon pants on the bottom because nobody sees this, right? Yeah. Aside from that, whenever you're giving a presentation or you're doing a Zoom call, having a good Zoom presence can do the same thing for your career as a great Italian suit. And so you want to make sure your lighting is perfect, your audio is perfect as well. On the wall, I also have ceiling tiles. Let me show you that. So the ceiling tiles on the wall and on the ceiling look like this. And you pull this off here, and it's a sticker basically. But this will make the sound quality much better as well. Aside from that, I've got curtains here. These are really cheap curtains. They're like 20 bucks from Amazon. And they'll block out the light and, of course, the sound as well. So you want to make sure you have these set up as well. Make your walls, if you can, black on the sides. Like I have black walls here so it doesn't reflect the light. And then just have a white back wall that you can shine a light up into if you want to. And now, aside from that, when you give a Zoom presentation, for me, and this is just me, it's crazy, but I get really shiny. And when I give television interviews, there's always a makeup person putting makeup on you. So what you can do is you can buy a product called Stay Matte, M-A-T-T-E, by Rimmel. Maybe she's beautiful. Maybe it's Maybelline. And then what you do is you put this on as well to stop the shininess. Also makes my nose not stand out as much because it's huge. But it's a very, very aerodynamic nose. And if you guys have additional questions, let me know. Aside from that, because one meeting can really change your life, I use a product called Vocal Zone as well. And what I'll do is I'll put this in my mouth half hour before I go live as well. Just so my voice is clear. And there's many other tips I have. If you guys have specific questions on the equipment I use and how I use it, etc., let me know, because I've humbly made every mistake there is to make in the world. And I want you to learn from me. Yeah. Okay. All right, next question is from Renveer from Mauritius, who wrote, Chris, how would a hedge fund recover from a 50% loss? Yeah, it's hard. So if a hedge fund manages $100 million and they're down 50%, then they've got to be up 100% the next year. It's really, really tough. And what happened, and by the way, hedge funds don't get paid the next year unless they recover the losses. And that's called getting above your high water mark. And what happened in the fall of 2008, when we were within 24 hours of bank machines not working, was a lot of hedge funds were down 50 to 60%. And the ones that survived were the ones that put up the gates. And what that means is this. When you invest in a hedge fund that is massive and very successful, in the contract that you sign to invest, which is massive, there's a stipulation that they can stop you from taking your money back. And so very large hedge funds, many of which are well known, you all know the names of them, they put up the gates. And some were down 60% in 2008, and they recovered a couple of years later. Yeah. So, but usually once you're down that much, you can't recover. Yeah. And the problem is there's a moral hazard risk as well, to the extent that the portfolio managers at hedge funds, if they're down a lot, then the last couple months of the year, they'll swing for the fences and try to get that money back because they're going to be fired anyway. And that's why quite often during Q4, meaning the last 3 months of the year, a lot of high beta stocks like software and internet stocks can outperform. Not all the time, but they can, because a lot of portfolio managers and professional investors are chasing alpha. And alpha is defined as how much a portfolio manager beats their benchmark by, like the S&P. So if the S&P is up 12% and they're up 15%, then they've generated 3% or 300 basis points of alpha. All right. And Amos wrote about post-production tips. Yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you. Okay, Gary, I miss you. Gary, how are you, man? Gary's from Atlanta. He's a former investment banker who worked at Bank of New York, I think. He also spent time in China as a teacher. He's a great guy. I miss you on the weekly calls at 11:20 on Thursdays. Pacific time. Please join us again. I miss you, man. I hope you're doing well. I saw that you sent a support email to my company. I responded, if you're having issues accessing that course, please let me know. And I miss you. How are you, man? So Gary wrote here, good morning, Chris. Can you give us your thoughts on OpenAI and Q-Star recent events? Also your thoughts on Charlie Munger. Yeah, I don't know what Q-Star refers to. I'm sorry, I don't. But what Luka and I just released also is an OpenAI API course, which basically, and you have to know Python to take it, but basically what it does is it allows you to leverage the application programming interface from OpenAI, so you can use ChatGPT on your website and in other applications. Yeah. Your thoughts on Charlie Munger? Yeah, God bless him. He passed away at 99 yesterday. Yeah, very sad. Very sad. So it's a tough day for Warren Buffett, for everybody. And a lot of times people are really worried about investing in investment management firms that are too reliant on one or two people. It's a risk. It's a risk. Like my company is a risk, because I'm the teacher. So what happens after I move on, et cetera? It's really sad, but my thoughts and prayers are with Charlie for sure and his family. Yeah. All right. Caroline wrote, good morning from Nova Scotia. Great to see you. Thank you for my favorite emojis in the world as well. And I hope to see you at 10 a.m. today as well. And I hope your cats, Mimi and Mumu, are doing well. Moving on to Rahul, who wrote, what is the difference between dividend tax on companies and dividend income on stocks? Seems like a basic question, but I'm confused. Yeah. So there's double taxation when it comes to dividends. The company pays taxes on it and you pay taxes on it as well. In terms of dividend income on stocks, yeah, just double taxation. Yeah. But everybody's tax mandate is a little bit different. If you invest in stocks in your 401k, meaning your retirement savings program, or your RSP in Canada for Caroline, then you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about paying any taxes until you take that money out later. Also, for those of you that have kids or want to have kids, if you can do it, and it's hard, but make sure that you set up an educational savings account for your kids. It works the exact same way as a retirement savings program like a 401k, but it's better because when your kids are in university, if they decide to go to university, then you could take that money out without paying taxes to pay for university. And my son Andrew, very proud of him. He's at Berkeley right now, and we all love the color blue because of the Toronto Blue Jays. Okay. Yeah, questions from Manas about Coinbase and Binance and ticker CZ, which I don't know what that is. I'm sorry. Yeah. But I recommend that nobody puts their money into cryptocurrency exchanges or hot storage wallets. If you own cryptos, don't store them online. Store them on a cold storage wallet, which looks like a USB token. Yeah. And I've said this since the beginning. Don't put more than 5% of your liquid net worth in cryptocurrencies. And if you are going to invest in cryptos, don't have more than 0.5% of your liquid net worth in any one crypto, because most of them are scams. Most go to zero. And one of the reasons is because there's no disclosure. Like when you invest in a stock like Meta or any stock, you can read the annual report called the 10K, the quarterly reports called the 10Q, press releases called the 8K, and the S1. There's none of this stuff with cryptos because cryptos are not regulated. They're sort of regulated by the laws of mathematics, but not really. Yeah. And I think we need regulation. Okay. Give me 1 second. All right. Give me 1 second here. All right. Next up, we got, hey, Robert, how are you? Robert wrote, can public companies do a buyback and not issue dividends for organizations with preferred shares? What is your opinion on preferred shares for an investment? Yeah, as long as the board approves or blesses a buyback, companies can do whatever they want to do. Yeah. Now, preferred shares are usually better investments than common shares. So when we all buy stocks, we usually buy what are called common shares. And if a company goes bankrupt, here's what happens. The first people to get their money back are the debt holders, like the bondholders. Then the preferred shareholders, who get preferential treatment. And then the lowest of the low, you can't see me here, the lowest of the low, hey there, is common shares. That's why they're called common shares, like commoners. Yeah. So if you can invest in preferred shares, do it. We usually don't get that opportunity. And quite often when you invest in private companies, you can invest in preferred shares in the company. And that means you don't get diluted as much as common shares. Yeah. Okay. All right. Give me 1 second, guys. And if I skipped your question, just post it again. I'm so sorry. Yeah. And by the way, if you guys put internet addresses in, YouTube strips that out for some reason. Yeah. Okay. Andre wrote, is the AI class available now? It is, yeah. And we recorded, so Luka Anison, who came here from Serbia, is my brother from another mother. We recorded 10 classes together, tech classes, a lot of them, and business classes. And we finished recording the complete Python course, which I can't wait to release for you guys. That will come soon. Yeah. Certainly before the next Gold and Platinum MBA program launches in January, late January. Okay. All right, Manas wrote, as a foreigner, how can somebody buy a stock in the US, like Coinbase or Bitfarm, for example? Yeah. So what you want to do is you want to, and based on what country people are in, what I want you to do is do a search on the top 5 banks in your country by market cap. Then I want you to call all 5 banks and ask them, do you have a trading division where I can invest in stocks that are listed overseas? And most of them do. Yeah. And if you can't buy individual stocks, you can certainly buy ETFs. Yeah. Okay. And then next up, Manas wrote, JP Morgan says the market will fall, specifically bank stocks, in 2024, while others contradict this. What is your thoughts on a rate hike When will the Fed cut rates as an election is in 2024? Yeah. So the Federal Reserve, which is in charge of interest rates, is an independent body. It's not really supposed to be influenced by the president or elections. In terms of what I think the Federal Reserve is going to do, I actually think they're going to start cutting rates next year. And the reason is because of the many interest rate hikes we've had over the past year or two. We have actually seen a bit of an economic slowdown recently. For example, in the month of October, retail sales were down year over year for the first time since March. Also, unemployment is becoming slightly more of an issue, and the economy is slowing. And so I think the Federal Reserve will end up cutting rates next year. Now, the issue with the Federal Reserve increasing interest rates is that you don't see an immediate impact in the economy. It can take 12 to 18 months. So just in case there's an economic slowdown, I think next year the Federal Reserve is going to start to cut rates very slowly. And the whole process of cutting rates changes the money supply. So if I'm the Federal Reserve, when I cut rates, I'm flooding the market. I'm flooding the market with money. So the way it works is this. This is fake money, like I'm a fake teacher. The way it works is this. I'm the federal government. You're all investors or banks or whatever. What I can do is I can sell you a bond, okay, a government bond. You buy this and you give me your money. I then take that money out of circulation. And when the supply of anything goes down, any product, the price goes up. And that means interest rates rise. And vice versa, when I buy this back from you, I'm putting more money out there into the system. As the supply of money increases, when I cut rates, as the supply of money increases, the price of money goes down, meaning interest rates. Yeah. It's fun teaching with props. Okay, next question is from Renvir, who wrote, if a bond is a loan, it is, yeah, and I lend $100. Okay, so you're lending $100. I'm the government. Okay, so you're lending me $100 right here, and it's fake money. Then the price of the bonds goes up to $150. Does that mean the borrower has to pay $150? No. It's like a stock. If a stock goes up to $150, the company doesn't owe you anything. Yeah. Okay. And that would likely happen if there's a change in interest rates. Yeah. Next up, and for those of you interested in learning more about bonds, go to the beginning of this call as I answered a question with 5 reasons why you can lose money on bonds, or how you can. Okay. Manas wrote, will you run an election in your life? Maybe a mayor or a congressperson someday at 70 or 60s, which is coming up soon. What will you fight for if needed? Yeah, I'd never do it. I had Mike Honda over for dinner when he was a congressman recently. And what I loved about him, he's no longer a congressman, is that he fights really hard for education. So if I was a congressperson, whatever, I would, or a politician, whatever, I would probably fight really hard to make education free for everybody. And if you want to learn more about that, watch my TEDx presentation, which I gave called How T Can Solve All Problems in the World, TEA, Technology, Education, and Acceptance. It's why I do what I do. And the profits from what I do go to build schools overseas. So whenever you buy one of my courses or MBA program, thank you. You're helping to build schools overseas. Okay. Frederick Mendoza, how are you, man? Fred is based in the tri-state DC area. He graduated from my MBA program back in 2021, I think. Great to see you. He works in the healthcare sector, and he met with Fauci before. So Fred wrote, hello, Professor Chris. Hey, man. Did you take the GMAT? If so, how did you do? I did well. However, the GMAT, like the SAT or the LSAT or the MCAT, these aren't intelligence tests. They're basically a game, like a puzzle. And if you study hard, you can destroy the competition. And so I studied really hard. So for those of you that want to go to law school, business school, whatever, med school, I recommend taking the Princeton Review, which is what I did. Princeton Review is owned by I think is it the Washington Post, or maybe that's Kaplan. Take the Princeton Review. It'll help you big time. I had to write the GMAT a couple of times. Yeah. And the first time I took it, I didn't do well. And I'm so open and transparent with all of you, and I'll tell you exactly why. So I was at McGill University, and I inhaled. And a couple of days later, I wrote the exam, and I did awful. I'm just being honest. Yeah, just being honest. I'm against that stuff. And as a parent, I worry about that stuff being free now. Yeah. So I had to take it again. But I did well, humbly. And I can teach you all a couple tips on how to ace any exam. And I actually learned, because of the Princeton Review, how to pass multiple choice questions, multiple choice exams, without reading the question. And I'm going to teach you how. So whenever you write an exam, thank you, Andre, for the donation. God bless you. That $20 will go directly to the schools. Thank you. So whenever you write an exam, or you look at a multiple choice question, I want you to think like a lawyer. Now, lawyers look for exceptions. Okay, so here's a multiple choice question. What is the color of this? And the answers are as follows. A is it's always gold. B is it's sometimes yellow. C is it's never yellow. What do you think the answer is? Well, you got to look for an exception. Is it always gold? Well, no, I'm a lawyer. I can find an exception. If I hold it in light, it might look yellowish, whatever. It's sometimes yellow. That's the right answer, sometimes. And it's never yellow. That's wrong. So whenever you see the words always or never, you can find an exception for that. So it's wrong. So wishy-washy answers are correct, like sometimes or can be. Think like that, and you can eliminate sometimes 1, 2, or 3 of the answers, A, B, C, D, and pass the multiple choice test without reading the questions. Yeah, within reason. I'm exaggerating a bit. My mom told me, I told you a million times, Christopher, not to exaggerate. Just kidding. All right. Next up, Silu, hey, how are you? Wrote, hope you're doing great, likewise. What would be the most effective skill in the technology field nowadays? Yeah. I would say Python. Yeah. I mean, there's explosive growth for demand for Python developers, which is why I spent a lot of time and money developing a complete Python course, which will be out by January for my MBA students. Yeah. And by the way, if you want to learn Python or any computer programming language quickly, I recommend taking courses by Dr. Angela Yu on Udemy. And so Angela Yu is based in the United Kingdom. She's probably the best teacher on the planet. But take her course on Python, web development, etc. She makes it fun as well, and easy too. And she's great. Okay. Next up, Manas wrote, how much data do you pay for? What's the cost per month on your bill? Maybe it's cheapest or is expensive? Yeah. So I pay, several $100s for what I do. I have corporate subscription to Comcast, which doesn't have the best customer support, but they're getting better. Yeah. Okay. Next question is from an Arabic name. God bless you. My dad is Egyptian. You wrote, and the only word I know in Arabic is khamsa, because I asked my dad when I was 5, how old am I? Khamsa. Yeah. Imshi, by the way. Yeah. Ya walad. So the question is, how does options day trading work? Yeah. So a couple of things. Number one, please don't day trade. And I know it's not your question. And I say this with love in my heart. Please. Because you will lose money. The worst thing you can do is walk into a casino the first time, bet money and win. Because it's not repeatable. And that's what trading is like. Stocks go up and down for random reasons. You're fooled by randomness, you make money in a short amount of time. Every month has 20 weekdays or 20 days the market's open. Stocks go up and down for random reasons. Now, in terms of options, I wouldn't trade or day trade options. But if you want to buy options, and for those of you in my MBA program, if you go to FA44, that's Finance and Accounting Semester 4, Class 4, there's a 30-hour elective on options. You can buy calls or puts. Okay. If you buy a call, you put in a little bit of money. If the stock goes up, you make a lot. The most you lose is this much. If you buy a put, if the stock goes up, all you lose is this. But if it goes to 0 or goes down a lot, you make a bunch. But all you lose is this. And the reason I'm talking about this is because I don't want anybody to underwrite or sell options. Because when you underwrite or sell options, you can lose 50 times the amount of money that you invested in that, right? It's deadly. Yeah. And then Jason wrote, thank you. You're most welcome. Thank you for being here. Okay. Give me 1 second here. Ted, thank you for that comment. Yeah. My nose does cast a massive shadow. Yeah. But as I said before, I can beat anybody in this call in a skiing race because this thing is so aerodynamic. Same thing for cycling. Yeah. As Sting said, it takes a man to suffer ignorance and smile. Be yourself no matter what they say. What song was that from? What's it called? All right. Uncle Coco, hey, first time seeing the call, hope you join us again, wrote here, can you explain the fund financial structural? Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what that means, but whenever you invest in a mutual fund, for example, you're paying fees so that the portfolio managers can invest in a diversified group of stocks, and they try to outperform whatever benchmark they're compared to. Don't ever buy mutual funds that are a scam because the fees are very high. Instead, I want you to buy ETFs, meaning exchange traded funds. And the best way to invest in ETFs, if you want to learn more, is to go directly to etfdatabase.com, etfdb.com. And what you can do is you can screen these ETFs. You can look at ETFs by sector. You can look at them by geography as well. So let's say you wanted to invest in Brazil, okay, but you didn't want to buy stocks on the Bovespa in Brazil. You can buy EWZ, this one here, and you'll pay 58 pennies per year in fees for every $100 you invest. And this will give you exposure to many of the commodities-based companies in Brazil, such as Petrobras, etc. Right here, Petroleum Brazil, ETFDB. Yeah. Now, the ETF that I buy, my go-to investment actually, if I go to Yahoo Finance, whenever I'm not sure where to put my money, I buy ticker, come on Yahoo Finance, I buy ticker VOO, VOO. And the VOO is an ETF which has really, really low, it's coming, has really, really low fees. And as you know, I'm not sponsored by anybody, nor will I ever be. But if you buy the VOO here, the fees are next to nothing. The expense ratio is actually 4 pennies for every $100 you invest. And you get exposure to the United States stock markets, meaning the S&P 500. And I think it's the best investment you can make in the long run because the very last company, so to speak, that will go bankrupt, it's all relative, is U.S. government. And the financial markets here are solid. And we have lots of problems here in this country too, but yeah. Okay. All right, next up, Kamal wrote, publicly traded companies disclose shareholders over their shareholders over 10%. What about under 10%? Is there a way to get access? Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, so what you can do is if somebody manages a mutual fund or a hedge fund with over $100 million, by law, they have to disclose every quarter what they own. And you can always get this information for free and never pay for financial data, please. But I'm going to show you where to get this information for free. So let's go here to, I don't know, Apple. And what you can do is you can find out who the holders are. And they just changed this structure here. Holders right here. Yeah, the performance sucks of this new website here. But for example, holders, we can see here Vanguard. A lot of that is in the VOO, that index I just showed you. And then you got BlackRock and Berkshire Hathaway. Now, 40% of Warren Buffett's portfolio at Berkshire Hathaway is in Apple. But here you go. You can find out this is Fidelity in Boston. This is good. Capital Management, T. Rowe Price in Baltimore, etc. Yeah, but you can get all the information here. All right. Okay. Next up, Letitia. Letitia, it's a pleasure to meet you. First time I've seen you here. I hope you join us again. Thank you. Letitia wrote, I work for the government and I have a TSP. Should I open an additional account like a brokerage account and buy stocks or just put all my money into the TSP for retirement? I'm not familiar with the TSP. I don't recommend that anybody do their own taxes. I would always hire an accountant. And the accounting profession exists because the rules change all the time. And doing your own taxes is like doing surgery on yourself instead of talking to a doctor. Please call your accountant and ask them. Yeah. Okay. Renvir wrote, why would a company's stock not go up if the company announces a 1-for-10 reverse split? Yeah, so when a stock splits, so say there's $1,000 stock and it splits 2-for-1, now it's $500 and there's twice as many shares. The market cap doesn't change. If a company has a price of $3.90 and it does a reverse split, what will happen is that stock could go up 100%. However, the share count changes, so the market cap doesn't change. The reason why that stock doesn't go up a bunch more is because the reason they do reverse splits is because markets like the NASDAQ have rules that if your stock is, say, below $4 for a certain period of time, you will get delisted. And that's why sometimes you'll see tickers go from 4 letters to 5 letters, right? They're on the pink sheets, they're delisted. Yeah. And that might explain why a company might do a reverse split. Yeah. And where there's smoke, there's fire. Yeah. Andre, thanks again for that donation. God bless you. Okay, Farron wrote, hi, Chris. Hi, guys and gals. Good to see you. Okay. And then let's see. Next up, Letitia wrote, which program is good to take for the CPA exam? I don't know. I'm sorry. Yeah. And then Renvir wrote, there's an international golf competition organized by a big Mauritius bank soon where you're based. You wrote, I don't play golf, but I can assist the competition for a fee. Do you think it'd be worth going to? Yeah, I would. I mean, the best way to meet clients, if you can, is to play golf. I've met tons of clients playing golf, even at really cheap public courses by accident. It's a great way to socialize. Relationships are always more important than product knowledge, and your network is your net worth. And when I was a kid, during the summers, I used to caddy, and I would get paid $20 for 4 hours of work for carrying somebody's bag. And I learned so much just listening to the business executives talk to each other. Okay, just like Bobby Axelrod in Billions. Yeah. Okay, and Uncle Coco wrote, looking handsome and sharp, thank you. Maybe I'm beautiful, maybe it's Maybelline. You wrote, how much is your suit and where'd you get it? You're always dressed up well, thanks. Well, my Lululemons are pretty cheap, yeah. So where did I get this from? I got this from Sam Malouf, Malouf. On Burlingame Avenue or Boringame Avenue, close to where I live. Yeah. Okay. Okay. And by the way, if you guys are ever worried about what should you wear to an interview or an informational meeting, just go to the LinkedIn profile of the person you're meeting with and see what they're dressed as, or go to the website and see what they're wearing as well. And I tend to overdress as well. Like when I used to go to interviews when I was younger. I would wear a tie, and I would ask at the front desk what people wear in the office. Do they wear a tie? And if they said no, I just take the tie off. Yeah. Yeah. And some people think that, and there's this whole psychology process of if you want to get promoted, you have to act and do the stuff that the person at the next level does. Also, dressing slightly better. It does help. And perception becomes reality. Next up, Abel wrote, hey, Chris, hope all is well. Likewise, great to see you. How does interest rate work when you buy a house? That's how we say it in Canada. It's not house, Americans, it's house. How does interest rates work when you buy a house? Please explain the detail of banks. Yeah, absolutely. So when you buy a house, and the reason everybody pays really close attention to Federal Reserve statements about interest rates is because it impacts the 30-year rate. And right now, the 30-year rate on government bonds, the federal funds rate, I think it's between 5 and 6%. And if you want to buy a house, your mortgage is based on a premium on top of that. So right now, mortgage rates are between 7 and 8%. But you're like, why is it 7 to 8% if the Fed funds rate in 30 years is between 5 and 6? Because we are more risky than investing in the U.S. government. And that's why everybody watches this closely. Now, I'll talk about this really quick because I've done this before. But what you can do is you can go to treasury.gov to figure out what the yield curve looks like. Okay. And the yield curve is what professional investors pay attention to when it comes to modeling interest rates. What you need to do when you're looking at the risk-free rate when you calculate what companies are valued at. So let's go to the current month to see what yields are at. So right now, and this here is the 1 month, this is the 30-year. Oh, I digress. It's actually 4.44%. So right now, the short-term rates are 5.5%, and the long-term rates are, oh my God, that spread is massive, over 100 basis points. And usually, but not in all cases, when you see long-term rates lower than short-term rates, that means that a recession is coming. And the reason is because the market is saying, oh my gosh, rates are going to be way lower, in 30 years. And if rates are going to be lower in 30 years, that means that in the future, the government's going to have to cut rates, to stimulate the economy. And this is called an inverted yield curve. Usually, rates are lower now and higher later. That's a normal or healthy yield curve. But right now, we have an inverted yield curve. And basically, this here is what you look at to understand where mortgage rates are going. Yeah. So when the Fed speaks, it impacts all of us. Okay. All right. And thank you so much for that donation. It's an Arabic name. Thank you. God bless you. Thank you. Okay. All right. Next up, Uncle Coco wrote, sorry, my question was not clear. All good. I wanted to ask, if you have a hedge fund, how does taxation work when buying and selling stocks? Yeah. So it's a really, really complicated matter. So for me, when I had my hedge fund, I had an onshore and an offshore vehicle. It's called a master feeder structure. And my offshore vehicle was in the British Virgin Islands, BVI. And my onshore vehicle was in the United States. And they both fed into a master structure. And my lawyer, my securities lawyer, who's Jim Grand from the Securities Law Group in the San Francisco Bay Area, nice guy, he always told me never give your investors any tax advice because everybody's tax mandate is completely different. Yeah. And the reason why I had offshore is because I had ABN AMRO and a lot of European investors that wanted to invest but not pay U.S. taxes. Yeah. Okay, give me 1 second here. And then the question is, how does taxation work when buying and selling stocks? It all depends. If you lose a lot of money this year and next year you make money, you're probably not going to pay taxes because you got a net operating loss carry forward. Always tell your accountant what your losses are or gains are from stocks. But that's kind of a moot point if you put it in your retirement account, which I recommend everybody do, as well as your educational savings account, which is tax-free. Yeah. And extraordinarily wealthy people, not me, but extraordinarily wealthy people, one of the reasons that they're wealthy is because they pay less taxes. Like Warren Buffett has publicly disclosed that he pays less in tax percent-wise than his assistant does, and it's not fair. In fact, the 400 richest families in the United States only paid just over 20% in taxes, which is way below the maximum tax bracket. Yeah. And the reason why billionaires also pay less in taxes is they hire tax lawyers at like $1,000 an hour to move their money around so they pay less taxes. And sometimes there's no taxable event, which is unfair. So for example, Jeff Bezos in 2007, when he was already a multi-billionaire, not only did he not pay taxes, but he got $4,000 back for each of his 4 kids at 16 grand when he filed taxes. And the reason is because he didn't have a taxable event. He didn't sell shares that year in his company, Amazon. And so I really do believe, I'm definitely a capitalist, but I think there should be some kind of wealth tax on billionaires. Yeah. I mean, for God's sakes, they should pay the same rate that the rest of us do. Yeah. Okay. God, I sound like Bernie Sanders. And the only good thing about Bernie Sanders being president is Larry David would go on Saturday Night Live all the time and pretend he's him. It would be the funniest. I love Curb Your Enthusiasm, one of my favorite shows. Okay. All right, next up, The Vanquisher, that's a cool name, wrote, what's the best place to go for startup funds in skincare? Yeah. And I actually have one of my students, Marin Koros. She started a skincare company. She's doing really, really well. And so what I would do is contact Marin Koros, and her name is MarenKoros, and ask her how she did it. But it's like any other startup company. You have to network like crazy, create a pitch deck, and then talk to high net worth investors. Don't talk to venture capital funds, because the sales cycle with VC funds early on is really long. If you talk to high net worth investors, the sales cycle is short because they're pulling the trigger. Always talk to the decision maker. And if you network with them, then what can happen is after a couple of meetings, they might invest. Don't forget to ask. Now, if you want to learn more details about how to raise money or to get anything you want by networking, what you can do is you can go to my website, which is harounmba.com. And if you scroll to the bottom, scroll all the way to the bottom, there's a book called Networking to Get Customers, a Job, or Anything You Want you can get for free. And I wish I knew about networking when I was younger, man. It's everything. And every time you see a job opening online, the probability of you getting that job is literally 1 out of 250. So who gets that job? Well, it's ultimately somebody that knows someone at the competition. So if these are the new unwritten rules of commerce, then that's what you got to do. And in my MBA degree program, which you can learn about at this link here, in the first month of the program, I teach you how to network on steroids and how to get tons of informational meetings. Yeah. All right. Cool. All right. I'm going to take a very quick break. Here's a very short vlog that I'm really proud of about corporate bullying. Thanks. I'll be right back. If you bully people at work, meaning if you're a corporate bully, then I want you to keep watching this. Otherwise, don't watch the rest of this vlog. It's going to be out there today. But for you, the corporate bully, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for being such a jerk. And by the way, you peaked in high school and you're so insecure that you treat people poorly. I get it. I get it. You're really insecure. I understand. But you know what? In a bizarre way, and I think what you've done at work, treating people poorly, is disgusting. But I think in a bizarre way, I want to thank you because you've motivated the people that you've treated poorly to quit and to join another company, or you've motivated them to start their own companies. You see, frustration in business can be a beautiful thing. And I say it with love in my heart, because if you're frustrated at work because you're being treated poorly, and I've been treated poorly many times before, then that forces you to get outside your comfort zone and get a better job, or better yet, start your own company. If I can be resourceful in any way, helping you start your own company, please let me know. Thank you. Not the bullies, just the people who are being bullied, like I was. Thank you. I am Batman. I just powdered my nose, which basically made this almost empty. Yeah. All right, next question is from Will. Hey, Will, how are you, man? Will wrote, how can I know how many stocks I have in a company? Yeah, so look at your statement you get in the mail or online. Whatever the dollar amount is for that stock, you divide it by the share price, and that'll tell you how many shares you have in that company. And then you wrote here, I worked in a company for 5 years. I was contacted via physical letter to take actions. I only have the email name of the person who sent the, and then your last word is LET. Yeah. Yeah. So what I would do is this. Whenever I need legal advice, and again, I'm not sponsored. I never will be by anybody. But whenever I need legal advice, I go to LegalZoom.com. And it's a great website to get cheap legal advice. You pay like, I guess, $35 or $40 per month. And you can get like a half hour to 1 hour call with any type of lawyer you want to talk to, which is cheap. And they talk really slowly, though. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. So I would go there. Go to LegalZoom.com. Yeah. Yeah. And by the way, never join a company without first hiring a lawyer, especially if it's a startup, to read the employment contract. It's expensive to get somebody to read a lawyer, but I promise you it'll save you a fortune. So for example, for me, I worked in venture capital years ago, and I joined a fund, and I got a contract, and I actually paid a lawyer $7,000. It was brutal. It hurt to take a look at the contract. And the contract stipulated that if we have an exit, meaning a liquidity event, if one of our companies goes public or gets acquired, then yes, I would get paid out, but it didn't say when. So theoretically, it could be in 100 years. And so that was the best $7,000 I ever spent. Yeah. Okay. Next up, Kamal wrote, hey Kamal, wrote, Chris, the example you provided are for big businesses of big funds. What about micro shareholders, including individuals, non-corporate shareholders? Yeah. If you're talking about preferred versus common shares, it's the same thing. If I've misunderstood your question, please let me know. Thank you. Moving on to Jonas. Hey, Jonas. It's a pleasure meeting you. First time seeing you on the call. I hope you join us again. Jonas wrote, hi, Chris. You're amazing. Thank you. You wrote, Jonas from Botswana. Pleasure to meet you. Thank you. You wrote, I took your Foundations of Entrepreneurship course, world changing. Which one do you recommend I take next? Thank you so much for that. Appreciate that. Yeah. And there's a code, I think it's called Free Code Camp, which is some YouTube channel that has like 8 million subscribers or something. They asked me to put that course on their YouTube platform for free, which I did. You wrote, what course you recommend I take next? What you can do if you want is you can go to where all my courses are. So that's learn.harounventures.com. And you can look through all my courses here. Now, all my courses have a 30-day, 100% money-back guarantee. And if you find that through any of my courses, MBA programs, etc., if you find you're not getting a 10x return on investment in 30 days, I won't ask for your money back. But you can scroll down here and take a look at the courses, etc. Yeah. Or just watch this weekly webcast and don't buy my courses. Either way, I'm here to help you. Okay. Okay. Let's see here. Give me 1 second. Jason, thank you for that donation. A lot of donations today. Thank you so much for that. That'll go directly to the schools that we create in Africa. Thank you. Okay. And then Ted wrote, by the way, I loved your interview with Brent Thill. I took notes and learned a lot. He's great. He's great. And Brent Thill, actually, he's incredible. I've known him for many years. I used to be his client when I worked at a big hedge fund called Citadel. And actually, I got the job at Citadel partially because he was my recommendation. But Brent Thill he runs the technology team at Jefferies, and the institutional investor annual poll ranked his tech team first of all tech teams. And if you want to learn a lot about professional investing, as well as how to invest in AI and which stocks to buy, what you can do is you can watch a replay of that. It's a half-hour interview. You can go to my website, harounmba.com, then weekly webcasts here. And if you scroll down, you can click right here to watch this replay. He's great. Yeah. And I also interviewed Karen Rotter-Davis, who's wonderful. She ran the operations for the Google IPO back in 2004, and she's a very successful venture capitalist. Yeah. And if you guys want me to do more interviews, let me know. Actually, let me know now if you can, please. If you guys want me to do more interviews, or if you all want me to just do Q&A like this, or both. Yeah. Yeah. And I've got, humbly, a very good Rolodex. And so I can ask the who's who of CEOs to come onto my webcast as well. Yeah. Which I haven't really tapped into yet. Okay. Next up, the Vanquisher wrote, is it okay if I let people see my logo and add pictures? I haven't protected them yet because I can't afford it. Yeah. Yeah. If you want, it's not that. So if you want to actually file your own copyright and trademark, what you can do is you can go to trademark.gov or USPTO.gov. I'm going to go there with you and show you how to do it. USPTO.gov. And that's United States Patent and Trademark Office.gov. And then right here, what you can do is you can file the trademark yourself, which costs less than $100. Just go to FAQs here. What you can also do is you can search trademarks to see if that trademark is already taken. And for anybody starting a company, don't get your web address or the website address until you first check to see if you can own the trademark. So, for example, if you you search for Haroun, is that how you pronounce that? Here it is here. So I've got a lot of them. Yeah. So these are all live ones that I've got. Yeah. So, for example, this here is my MBA degree program that I registered years ago. What I also did was I trademarked a lot of my courses. Now, you'll see this one here is dead. It's abandoned. And the reason I couldn't get this one here is because YouTube, Google, lawyers contacted me when I filed it, and they said, hey, we see that you're putting YouTube in the name of a course. You can keep that course, that's okay, but you can't register this because we own that, right? And so the way it works is this. When you file a trademark here, and you can talk to lawyers at LegalZoom.com or do it yourself, what happens is they'll file it, and for about a month, it'll be out there in the open so that anybody can look at it on this website. And if anybody contests it, then you have to talk to them and figure something out. So YouTube contested this. I disclose everything, and it didn't go through. So it was abandoned in 2021. And if you have additional questions about trademarks, copyrights, patents, please let me know. Okay, let's take a couple more questions and we can wrap up this week's call. Okay. Manas wrote, thank you for everything, my mentor. God bless you all forever and ever. Keep making this world a better place, and we'll see you next week and forever. And thank you so much. God bless you, man. You've been on almost every single webcast, and I am grateful. Congratulations on your book, which I bought, called Bonds Before Business. Next up, Solomon Cure wrote, hi, Chris. I'm an old student of yours from Columbia. Hey, how are you? Excellent. My alma maters. Yeah. You wrote, thank you for your invaluable guidance. What is your take on the future of the construction business for short-term rentals in the United States? Yeah. So I am not bullish at all on anything that touches cities because, as I mentioned earlier in this call, the pandemic has kind of shown us that we don't need to be in cities. And if the internet was invented and Zoom was invented before big cities, would we still have big cities and big office towers? Probably not as much. Yeah. So construction for me is anything not focused on cities. I'm certainly not an expert in construction, though. But my exposure to real estate is through a lot of houses that I own that I rent out in a couple of countries, as well as through REITs. And if you guys want to invest in real estate, but you want to buy a house or an apartment, whatever, what you can do is you can buy REITs, REITs. And that stands for Real Estate Investment Trusts. And they're like stocks. They got tickers. And by law, they have to pay out 90% of their profit in terms of dividends. They have high yields. Okay. And earlier I asked, what do you guys want me to do? Do you want me to do more interviews, or do you want me to do Q&A, or both? And so the Vanquisher wrote Q&A. Thank you. Whenever I see your name, I think of the Punisher, which is my favorite comic growing up. And then Jason wrote both. Interviews maybe for future of green energy for mega projects. Absolutely. I can bring on tons of venture capitalists that work in clean tech. Hilda wrote both. Okay, cool. So I got a couple of data points there. Thank you. Thank you. Kamal wrote, let me re-clarify. Thank you. Say Chris owns 100 shares of Tesla and Cornell owns 90 shares. Joe Schmo owns 75 shares. Is there a ledger or database where someone can research all of Tesla shareholders? No. So the only shareholders you can see are the ones that that own massive positions, and usually it's companies that like mutual funds or hedge funds that manage over $100 million. By law, they have to file a form of they have to file at SEC.gov, and the filing actually gets filtered through onto different websites. So I'll show you. So again, if you go to finance.yahoo.com, and I'll show you exactly who owns Tesla. And let's type here ticker Tesla. And they just changed this website. The response time is not good. Yeah. But anyway, you type in the ticker here. And then once it loads, once it loads, then you can click on holders. Give me 1 second. So I'll just type TSLA. And while I do this, I'll read future questions or more questions here. And then he wrote, my point is publicly traded companies must maintain a list of all shareholders, not just the big 13F filings for SEC Form 3 for 10%. Yeah, but they don't publicly disclose. Like if my mom or dad bought shares in Tesla, it wouldn't be publicly disclosed. Yeah, I mean, there are privacy rules that kind of stop that. But right here, if you go to holders, for example, come on. Here we go. You can find out who owns Tesla. Right, so no surprise that you've got massive ETF companies. This is a custodial service in Boston called SSGI, State Street Global Advisors. Vanguard is an ETF company. BlackRock is the biggest investment management firm in the world. Morgan Stanley, et cetera. This is Fidelity, that sort of thing. Yeah. And then you can also look at top mutual fund holders here, et cetera. Yeah, but retail investors don't have to file. Yeah. Okay. Let me take a couple more questions, and then I'll wrap up this week. Okay, and Ted, thank you so much. My goodness, a lot of donations today. You guys don't have to do this. God bless you. I thank you. and this will all go to building schools in Rwanda. And our next school we're building is actually in Kenya. I'm working with Myron Koros, one of my wonderful platinum students, on this. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. Okay. And then Perry wrote, hey, Chris, thanks for all you do for us, your students. I suggest you do both interviews and Q&A. Thank you. And thank you for being here every week. I appreciate it. This has been a lot of fun. We've been doing this for more than 5 years now. I'm never going to stop doing this. I'm always going to be doing this. Yeah. And then Gary wrote interviews, please. Thanks, Gary. Appreciate it. Okay. So it looks like there's a mix of both. So the bottom line is I will bring on more people to be interviewed, but I'm going to go for very high profile people as well. Yeah. And I exchanged messages actually with Bill McDermott, who's the CEO of ServiceNow. He was the CEO of SAP. I'm going to try to bring him on eventually. Also, I exchanged emails with Frank Slootman, who is the CEO of Snowflake. And I'll try to bring him on as well, and many other people. Yeah. Okay. Next up, Salman wrote, thank you for answering the question. You're most welcome. You wrote, let me tell you that your guidance during my pre-grad improved my capabilities moving forward as a professional. Thanks to you. Thank you for that. Thank you. Thank you. Thomas wrote, what do you think of the massive government investments in the United States? What national debt ratio do you consider healthy? Should the state invest massively, as is currently the case? Yeah. So government should invest a ton of money in infrastructure and build out when the economy is not doing well. Because if you think about it, that's a way to prop up the economy. You hire more people. So I believe in government infrastructure projects when the economy is not doing well. In terms of how much debt can the U.S. government, for example, take on? Well, the United States was set up, and Andrew Jackson kind of said this. He's on the $20 bill. He looks like Mick Jagger, or Keith Richards, I should say. But the way the United States was set up from day one is they can lend money, and they'll always pay it back, which they always do. And when you look at corporate debts or government debt or exchange rates or interest rates, everything in this world is relative. And the very last company to go bankrupt would be the U.S. economy, which is why they can have a ton of debt. Yeah. It's all relative. Yeah. All right. And then Fred wrote both interviews and Q&A. Awesome. Thank you, guys. This is great. What a wonderful weekly webcast. Now, for those of you, my silver MBA degree program, I will see you at 10 a.m., which is coming up soon, for our weekly 1-hour Zoom call. To learn more about my MBA degree program, please go to this link you see down here, all lowercase. I'm launching my next Gold and Platinum 1-year MBA degree program, our 8th annual 1-year program, on January 29th. God bless you, and I'll see you all next week. Thanks for the wonderful questions. Thank you. One more thing. I usually end with an interview with Steve Jobs, and I'm going to show you behind the scenes exactly how I'm going to tee this up. So I'm going to go here, and what I'm going to do is I am going to click this to play this message. I licensed this from the Silicon Valley Historical Association. This is a 1-minute interview, or 1 minute and 30 seconds that are life-changing. Thank you.
When you grow up, you tend to get told that the world is the way it is, and your life is just to live your life inside the world, try not to bash into the walls too much, try to have a nice family life, have fun, save a little money. But life, that's a very limited life. Life can be much broader once you discover one simple fact, and that is everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than you. And you can change it. You can influence it. You can build your own things that other people can use. And the minute that you understand that you can poke life and actually something will, if you push in, something will pop out the other side, that you can change it, you can mold it, that's maybe the most important thing, is to shake off this erroneous notion that life is there and you're just going to live in it, versus embrace it, change it, improve it, make your mark upon it. I think that's very important. And however you learn that, once you learn it, you'll want to change life and make it better, because it's kind of messed up in a lot of ways. Once you learn that, you'll never be the same again.